Mass Communication Department, Muralidhar College. Topic is the scenario of media in the COVID era and new publish. First, on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank two very proactive persons of our ICT department, without whose active participation and support, we wouldn't have gone nowhere. They are Srimati Prashangupta, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Economics, and person without whom the webinar never come up. Our very respected and most beloved Dr. Kunjal, her encouragement in every stage able guidance and support have helped us during every bit of the work. I'm also proud to say that today with us we have our very beloved student, former student, Ms. Anindita Mukherjee. She is now presently the senior copywriter in Zoom Digital Times Now. Basically, after passing out from Muralidhar Girls College, she has completed her from PhD and then gave birth to the foundation. And after that, journalism. And now she's retired. So, Abhinita Mukherjee will be the one to conduct the entire program. And all of us will be happy to have you all and hear the debate. So, over to Abhinita Mukherjee.
Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful introduction. Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing well in the era where quarantine, social distancing, isolation has taken a major part of our dictionaries. Well, after WHO declared the current COVID situation as a pandemic in March, every industry went through major twists and turns, especially talking about the media industry in here, especially when there are so many veterans with us, educators with us today, and many future journalists also on the platform who's remotely watching us. Have you ever wondered if the media industry has taken a hit or a miss? Or have you ever thought if how the media industry is operating in this current scenario? So to throw more light on this issue, the topic for today, which is the scenario of media in the COVID era and the new normal situation, we have two veterans from the field with us today who throw more light on how media is operating in a tough time like this. Before that, before we have this pleasant opportunity to hear them speak, I would request our principal now, Dr. Kinjalgini Dishwas, to share a few words with us. Over to you now.
Thank you, Anindita, and a very good morning to all of you. On behalf of Muralidhar Girls College, I wish to welcome all of you, my eminent speakers, my students, and all the other participants along with my staff on this webinar today, 20th of August, entitled The Scenario of Media in the COVID Era and the New Normal Situation. Now, first of all, I would like to thank the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication of Muralidhar Girls College for arranging such a webinar with so relevant a topic. With special mention to Dr. Indrani Raha, Sashi Subba, Saminur Rahman, and then there are others are also there. Navonita Kundu, Ivy Shaha, and Paramita Paul, along with Anindita Mukherjee. She is an alumni and will be conducting the seminar. Now, I also wish to introduce my relevant speakers, eminent speakers. Mr. Snehashi Shur, senior journalist, Doordarshan News, Kolkata, and he's also the president of the press club, and Professor Mrityunjoy Chatterjee, Dean, School of Liberal Arts and Culture Studies, Adamas Universities. I presume such personalities are seen and heard and followed by millions, and we are also here to follow them and to share their views with them according about this webinar topic. Now, just I would like to say a few words to start this seminar about COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this is the SARS-2 virus, which has really created a great havoc, a chaos inside our lifestyles. And this is related with basically respiratory syndrome, an acute one, which relates to hospitalization at a stage, and after that ICU, and then there is ventilation, and in some cases death too. So we have to wean out of this situation. What with these viruses dancing and tantrums regarding its R0 values, its herd immunity, its mutation? I heard from your media only, some maybe print media or the digital mode, that the virus has mutated in it 14 times. So we can't even found an adequate solve of it. It's constantly changing. And though the last step will be the vaccination form, it again remains yet to be finalized. So far, we have heard that 5 countries are proceeding with full speed. One in Australia, 2 in Wuhan, China, one in Russia, and another in Oxford University. So let's see what the vaccine brings for us, or else we can term it as the World War III with a bio warfare. No adversary. We don't have a physical contact to delete it, but we will proceed with the vaccination as well. And moreover, what has happened is, in this chaos we have to adjust ourselves in this new normal situation. That is, we have to go for various changes. You see, the old concept of definition of positive and negative have reversed itself, as we all know. Nowadays, if a person is labeled positive, then we are not happy with it, and if he or she is labeled negative, then we are all in smiles. So you see, pre and post COVID era defines the role reversal of positivity and negativity. Considering all these, we have to change ourselves in our lifestyles, in our home front, in our workplace, and of course, the job opportunities in this new normal situation is a bit bleak. And we therefore request our speakers who will guide us, who will advise us, the new journalist, budding journalist, to step well into the world. Thank you. I hope that this seminar will extend to a beautiful platform. And oh, I've forgotten to thank my ICT team, which is a in-house project. And this team has made this webinar, and along with others also, to a successful end. Thanking you again, Anindita. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, before we hear our speakers throw light on the issue, I will take 2 minutes of your time to share my take on how the industry is operating in the COVID era, being a part of the situation myself here. So, I've been with this industry for over 2 years now, and although it's very too less a time, but I've seen the industry like I have been at a place that I can do a parity between how we used to operate pre-COVID era and the post-COVID era. So earlier, I think I and most of us would have never imagined a scenario where we will be working in silos, uh, and especially when there is so much happening with the world. And given that I'm in the entertainment space, ever since April, we have had multitudes of celebrity deaths, and breaking those stories, having a breaking while you are working in silos, and working on 20 after stories thereon, after the story has broken. We would have never imagined doing such a thing if we were to work from home or if we were to work from a team. We would have a proper team meeting, have a proper quick plan, files sorted and whatever. But when you're working from home and when there's a breaking, you have zero time to kind of even collaborate for 2 minutes on the phone. It's just stories are coming and you're working, you're working, you're working. But but not like, the COVID era has made us kind of realize that nothing is impossible, and we have successfully kind of learned the art of managing, and we are doing it, we are getting there, and it's panning out okay. But that is one of the goals or one of the ongoing goals that we're trying, pros that we're trying to make. One of the call I would like, one of the challenge rather that I would like to say is jobs and team bondings have kind of taken a hit. Well, while I still consider myself an amateur. Given the two veterans we have with us today, I'm sure they'll throw more light on this issue. So now I would like to introduce Mr. Snehakesh Sur, a veteran in this field, who has seen the industry mold itself over the past many years. To introduce him to all of us, he is a senior journalist currently working with Doordarshan News at Kolkata. He is also the acting president of Press Club, Kolkata. Apart from covering several important projects and assignments throughout his ongoing career stream, he has also accompanied the Prime Minister in several of his foreign visits. He is also a media trainer with many acclaimed universities. Having said that, I would now like Mr. Sur to take this discussion from here, again emphasizing the topic, the scenario of media in the COVID era and the new normal situation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. At the outset, I must thank the Muralidhar Girls College authorities, the principal, Indrani ma'am, and all others for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts for this ongoing process in which we all are in. I also thank Principal Ma'am and our anchor for very nicely introducing the subject. One from a perspective of a scientist, and another from a perspective of a media person who has joined the industry not many years back. But let me tell you one thing, that it's not that how many years we have spent in, it is the day to day crisis, like what she is facing and what I am facing, almost the same, because it's like a cricket. We need to face every ball. I miss the flight and then I'm gone. So, this is the problem which we are facing. I'll not take much time in introduction. I'll try to go to my presentation. I'll just give me a moment. I'll just try how to do it. I'll,
Yeah, plus first of all, Sneha should ask for share screen. In the
yeah,
share
I
screen,
have done it. Yes.
then share your screen. That would be okay.
Yes.
The host of the program has to share the screen.
Yeah. Is it coming?
No, that is why the host of the program has to enable share screen.
Okay,
From
but
from that end, this has to be enabled.
It's enabled. So if you share your screen, it will automatically come. You go to
okay,
present
I'll
now
try
and
to do.
share it. Yes.
Okay. Just a second. Give me a moment. Is anything coming now? Is anything coming? Hello? Can
No.
anybody? Oh, this is the main problem because one network has a critical.
No, no. Was your file already opened before you came in, Sneha?
No, I have now. Okay, I'll
You
show
have
you.
opened now. You have
Yeah.
opened now.
See, I have opened my file and it is minimized, and then I'm going
It
to
was
present
it,
now.
no, no. It was it already opened when you logged in.
No.
So please log out and open
Okay,
that
I'll do
file.
that.
Keep that file open and then log in.
Okay, so it's a leave call, the log out. How do I log out?
So just leave the meeting and join again. No problem.
Okay. I'm
Keep that
extremely.
file open. That's it.
Am I in the meeting and is it visible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, and is it visible?
No files are visible. You are visible.
Just a second. Now is it visible?
No,
No.
only the points are visible.
Now it is saying that you are presenting to everyone. Some file is there, but file is not open.
Oh my God. Just a second. Give me 1 minute. Just
Okay.
1 minute. I'm so
Please.
extremely sorry because every platform has something to do with it. And just a second.
And you please carry.
Yeah, now it's visible.
Oh my
Yes.
God. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm extremely sorry. I'm audible now and my PowerPoint is visible.
Yes, both.
Okay, thank you. I'm extremely sorry for this faux pas. And you
No,
can
it's
say
all
that we
it's all
talk
right.
about it. We talk about being digital, and then we'll end up in everything. But every platform there are so many things going on in one of the other platforms, and each platform has a particular thing. I'm extremely sorry. So we'll come to dissemination of news in COVID-19. See, the first thing is uh, goal goal should be to cover news, not to be news. First, the journalist will have to understand that we are here to cover news and not to be news. So we shouldn't spread the dreaded virus and also misinformation. So there are two things that what we are our role. We should not be overexcited. We should not go beyond the limitation, and we should not be instrumental in spreading the virus. And also, we should not spread misinformation in this pandemic area. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we have covered bunds, riots, curfew, terrorism, public unrest, fire, house collapse, natural calamities, everything. We have covered earthquakes, tsunami, all disasters, but and the disease also, swine flu, dengue, SARS, plague. But we had no experience of what is happening now with the threat of spread of dreaded coronavirus. See, the lockdown and working from home and things like that, we never knew and what to do and what not to initially. For a couple of months, we or maybe for a month, maybe March, April, mid-April or so, we were aimless, clueless, how to fit into this situation, how to be operative in this situation. Newspaper vendors stopped taking papers and copies and things like that. So all sorts of things happened. So there was no SOP, there was nothing known to us before. Now, gradually, all the media units and media persons are getting into it and they are practicing. See, the first and foremost thing, this is the time to show responsibility. A journalist's responsibility as a journalist, as an individual, as a citizen. So, in our profession, we have to be responsible. As an individual, we have to behave responsibly. And as a citizen, and with the fellow citizens, we have to behave responsibly. So, responsibility to oneself, responsibility to his or family, and responsibility to society at large. What I want to bring in at this point is that the first is professional responsibility. Over and above professional responsibility, I have a responsibility towards myself. for taking protections, to following protocols and things like that. And then responsibility towards my family. When I come back, how do I observe safety protocols so that I do not do any harm to my family? And then responsibility to society at large. See, I have a pass, so I can go out. That does not mean that I will go out unnecessarily, to not only to the areas in my office where I'm not exactly required, and to my friends and colleagues and things like that in the neighborhood and all. Because I have a pass, I have to be responsible. I have to understand the threat through me, and spreading information that I should not spreading this by spreading misinformation. I should not do any harm to the society. So that is also the responsibility. The safety of journalists in corona days is the most important thing. We basically there are four factors and nuances we basically think, that is the safety of journalists, that this is the main thing we need to operate on, we need to understand. The second thing is fake news and checking corona related fake news, misinformation, and infodemic. I'll come to each one of them when I start discussing on them. And freedom of media and ethics in reporting stories on corona. Whether our freedom of media is curtailed, or what would be the exact ethical perspective in dealing with the corona stories. And in last but not the least of my presentation, my friend will touch upon the other areas related right now. I'll not go onto those because of avoiding repetitions. So impact of corona on media industry and media persons, job security, job crunch, etc. So basic four areas of my presentations I'll disseminate. The first thing, that the journalistic practices in new normal. Your title said that news in corona COVID-19 and the new normal. So as I told you that we did not know about new normal. As we entered into new normal, we wanted to know certain things, and we learned certain things. So we invented certain things. The technology was there, but we had to jump into it. So there is a leap forward of digital technology, which would have not come maybe 1 year, 2 year, 3 years more. So we were thrown into it, and we are surviving. You have seen how did I survive? So we are surviving every day. So now the basic mantra of journalism was spot reporting and the show of actuality. In television, we generally try to show as far as actuality we can show. The shoot at the spot, take the sound bites, interviews of the person concerned, reporting from the field, reporting from ground zero, and then show the ground zero to the people. What is happening, maybe live, what is the ground reality? We need to show it to our viewers. But there has been a change which has come. The change was inevitable and the change had to come. We had to resort to distance recording and remote recording. This has become a new practice. Suppose I want to do a story. Our anchor was talking about celebrities. I would like to do a story on how the celebrities have spent this 3 months' time. So earlier, I would have gone and sought an appointment from each one of them. I would have gone to them and with my crew, and then I would have recorded. I could have asked a couple of questions. But now, what I have to do is I have to tell them the questions. They have to record in mobile journalism, which we call Mojo mobile journalism, through mobile, or they have any other technology, and send it to me through mail, through Crowd, through Drive, etc., so that I get it. And in several press conferences, formal press conferences of Government of India, the state West Bengal government, ICMR, who, everything we get the video output directly being sent to us, or there is a Facebook Live, or anywhere else in social media it is coming live, so I can see it live. So I'm getting a second hand here. The remote recording and distant recording, I'm getting it. And channels are doing recording or live through Zoom, Skype, etc. As we are doing this program, this could have been tied up with any television channel, and this could have gone on air live, and viewers could have found out in this in their TV screen on the, if they tune that particular channel. This is exactly what is happening, that I don't send my DSNG vans to the respective people's residences or offices. I don't send my camera crew there. I don't get a live link through a satellite or a backpack through internet. So I don't require those technologies and sending crew and equipment. I ask them to come this platform and I get all the output here and I interface these outputs to my TV output and then it is being telecast in the channel. In this connection, let me give you an example of All India Radio Kolkata, what they had to do. Because as far as the protocol was concerned, they had to operate in a lower scale of staff. There are certain activities which had to be closed. The outsiders or the presenters, even, they were debarred from coming to office, going into the studio for some reasons or other. And then the newsroom was closed for a considerable period of time. So all the productions had to be done through distant mode. That means scripting is done at their residences through their computers or mobiles. The reports are being sent to a particular person. That person is, making the news script, the run order. Each story is in their laptop or mobile or whatever it is, and then the sound bites are also being sent by others. One is downloading and playing it, and then mobile, they are recording the news, and similarly the programs are also done. The inputs, as I said, whomever I want to interview, I'm just talking to them over phone and asking them to send me to by email, and I'm getting it, and then I'm editing in my mobile, or I am audio editing softwares in my laptop or my desktop, and then I'm producing the program and sending it, or I'm sending it to my senior to checking it, and then once it is through, I'm sending it to the server. Somebody needs to just play it from the server, or that can also be automated. I'm not very sure. But the thing is, entire transmission was being given without any person of program of news being present in the office, more so in the studio. So this has been made possible in an organization which is not so tech savvy otherwise. So I want to make it that when you are thrust into a situation, then you have to evolve for your survival, for your commitment to your viewers, readers, and listeners. So you have to do it, and it is possible. They have shown it. So many compromise with quality. Yes, all these things will have quality compromise. Sometimes the signal will go out, and as we told you that if we are not very particular, like me, if it would have been telecast live, then there would have been a faux pas or interruption. But that one has to be very careful. But in spite of the fact that your connectivity can go, there could be a problem in recording, there could be a noise in recording. All those things we have to understand, because the content is more important, dissemination of information is more important. How sound quality, tonal quality, picture quality, interaction can take a backseat for this trying time, this period, this pandemic period. What is more important than the information? That you have to wear mask, you have to wash your hand, you have to be quarantined if you have this kind of symptoms, where to go, what are the information, what is the system in the government, what is the system in the private, etc. All sorry, all this information is very, very important. Radio and online have been doing it. As I told you that All India Radio has done it, the other radios are doing it. The online portals are doing it, like what we are doing it right now. It will be available in your repository. Anybody can go through it little later. Maybe somebody is not watching it right now, or somebody wants to listen to it or see it once again. So it will be in the repository. One can access it little later. So there is a preserved value of this what we are doing. So distance recording has come to a great way. In the newspaper also, journalists are operating from their residences. They're getting quotes and information over phone, and they're writing story in WhatsApp and sending it, and the pages are made. The access is given, the password is given, and my journalist friends are making up pages from their residences. They're having problems for internet connectivity, broadband connectivity. It takes more time than what they would have taken it in the um, studio. I'm sorry, the office, because of the system working there in the online system. But now you have to access it through broadband. So connectivity is a great problem. So another thing in television we have to resort to is there is no point of crowding at a particular place. Once we get a share the visual, suppose if we have a pool system, that A channel is going to X venue, B channel is going to Y venue, and C channel is going to Z venue. And at the end of the day, not very late, immediately there is a pool where A is giving what he has covered, B is giving what he has covered, and C is giving what he has covered. And then similarly, the pool has all the coverages which A, B, and C have done. We share a lot in our professional fields because it's not an exclusive story which you are required to cover. These are the routine press conferences, routine inputs, and things like that. We have to share it because of one day our recording is poor quality or we are unable to do it. So this sharing system is there, especially in the television. The organizations do share it through their WhatsApp groups and things like that. So sharing or pooling the resources is very, very important because sometimes you have to depend on crowdsourcing also. Now, crowdsourcing, depending on crowdsourcing, has a problem that you have to judge that it has come from a right person. Suppose there is a great personality X. I'm getting an interview or bite, sound bite, or reaction of Mr. X. No, I'm getting it from somewhere. Now I'm using it. My channel's credibility may be at stake if it is a fake. So I have, while taking, I must know that I'm getting it from the official group where I am in, and it is operated and administered by the official host. So I know the official about it. So if it is nothing official about it, I may not go for it. And it is, we can depend on crowdsourcing, but it's very, very difficult, and we have to be extra cautious, like accident shots, whether or there are some stories which where the hostilities are there towards the COVID positives and towards the COVID warriors who are going there and helping out, like medical practitioners, nurses, and things there. So basically, there is a hostility from the neighborhood. So we are taking the story, but we have to be doubly sure that the story is of that particular place on that particular day. There is a reverse checking method of in the Google image, so people will get to know, and the journalists, especially the budding journalists of future, will have to learn and be expert of all those techniques, what we call fact checking mechanisms. So there are technical mechanisms that you go for a right click and then image, you go for a reverse image checking, and then you find out what is the original source and the date and the place of the image. So it cannot be morphed, it cannot be misused, it cannot be misinterpreted, it cannot be wrongly, fakely used. That you have to check it. And the budding scribes, my humble request to you all, that you must uh, be able to in the know of things, that how does one check it before you use it. So there are norms of checking. Now, first checking is through your sense, common sense, journalistic sense, news sense, whatever you call. You should sense, oh, this it is a quote of X. No, X is not supposed to say this. So you go on cross checking. You call up your friends who cover those bits. Say, have you got anything like that? I find something wrong in it. I smell a rat. So you go on checking. That is your experience, and your news nose will give you. That is something personal. And then the technical, like fact checking mechanisms are there. One has to learn it. One has to be expert in it, and one has to use it. And in this connection, let me tell you, the Press Information Bureau, the Government of India outfit under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, which caters news to primarily to media, but now public also has access. So they are the news mouthpiece and the gateway. They have opened a fact checks mechanism on a page. If it is regarding any of the government news, you can go there, ask for us whether it is right or wrong, and then you get back, they get back to you. If it is a wrong news, they say that no, it's a fake news. They will get back to the concerned ministries and departments and find it out the validity of the news, and then they will come back and announce, yes, the news is right or the news is wrong. See, let me give you an example. Regarding the examination, there are a lot of things which are being spread in various channels and social media platforms. So they may not be right. So, and it concerns the future of many students. So before disseminating such which touches many people directly, like exams, when it will happen, whether will it happen or they will be declared pass or something. So it is better that since there is a mechanism, we must know where to send it, get it checked, and then give it to it. So we have always a thrive to breaking news, but these days breaking is not so important than giving it rightly. So we have to understand that one has to. Uh, I'm sorry. So we have to understand that what is more important. More important is not breaking news. The news can wait for an hour, but the right news, the actual news, not fake news, is more important. And then adhering to safety protocols, we need to do it, that we all know by now. So I'm not going into this. And covering the vulnerable areas, like collecting sound bites from those who are in the queue for getting tests done in the COVID hospital. Are we supposed to go to the people vulnerable who have gone there to COVID hospital to get it tested? Maybe 10% of them could come out to be positive. So I have, going into the context, I don't know who will come out as positive or who will come out negative. So we can avoid that. Can't we manage with an establishment shot in television and voiceover on what we want to say? Or even a piece to camera, that you all know that piece to camera is when a journalist speaks in front of a particular location and he says whatever he has to say. So you say that I see behind me is a such and such COVID hospital and people have lined up. There are several people, hundreds, they have lined up. Many will come out to be negative, but many will come out to be positive. So there is perspective from the common people to have come there and to get themselves tested. However, the doctors say that unless and until you develop a symptom, there is no panic syndrome that you come and get yourself tested, because we don't have adequate kits or resources to test so many people. So unless and until you are having symptoms or you have some problems, please don't come, because coming to this place will make you more vulnerable. Nobody can say that you pick it up from here only. So taking interview of the suspected patients from the queue is a big safety threat, not only for the reporter, but for many others in the chain. So you are in the car after taking the report, going close, holding the microphone and going close, and then coming to the reporter and the cameraman and the driver, and then you go back to your office, and then you meet with others. So all these things you should change. And you see, I was just telling you that the report is factually incorrect. If the report is factually incorrect, then obviously the PIB has this system. You can just get it tested. So these are the vulnerable things as far as the safety protocols are concerned. And I said the equipment cleaning, that you have to clean the microphone, the tops of the microphone, the windshield. You have to clean the camera and other accessories. You have to use a boom stick. We call it a boom and zoom. That for audio recording, you should not use lavalier microphones, and you should not go close to the person whom you are interviewing. You can use a boom stick, and you can use a zoom lens. Your camera has a zoom lens where you can show in detail from a distant place, like the match reporting, the match visuals. No camera goes inside the field where the match is being played. How do we do it? They have zoom lenses. So if hundreds of cameramen are loitering within the field, the football match will not take place. So all of them are doing it from the gallery or from the outfield, so outside the area, out the sideline. So it is possible to zoom lens. You can go closer from a distance through your camera. And zoom, you can use a stick and put the microphone at the top of the stick and hold it from a distance, so you won't have to go physically closer. So this is a zoom and boom. We have to get into practice. These are all the safety things. Then we come to the what we call the fake news, as I have already included. The infodemic. Yes, it's a WHO and CDC and Government of India has termed this as infodemic, and WHO Director General has said that it's equally important to combat infodemic as combating the pandemic, because the spread of infodemic is much higher than the spread of pandemic. It's true. So one has to be extra cautious to give only which is reliable. But in this connection, I need to say one thing, that the main sources whom we concern as the major source, like as I said, CDC of the USA and then ICMR, and they have also change their point of views. Like once they say that no, you won't have to wear mask if you are not going to the patient, going to the hospital. Then they say no, if you are going out, you wear your mask. Then they say that no, asymptomatics cannot spread infection. But then they say no, asymptomatics can also spread infection. Regarding the airborne of the being airborne of this particular virus, there are a lot of things are being said. So at this point, what is said by a well accepted and established organization, we just as a journalist, we say that as on date they are briefing like this. So if they change it, we need to say that earlier they have briefed something else and we are briefing something different. And regarding the fake news, we have to understand one thing: there has been crisis in Mumbai where due to a story where it was disseminated that the trains will start. So a lot of migrant workers gathered in the railway stations. There was a congregation. So and the train was not running. The story was made out of a preparation by the railway authorities that how would it run the train, and the story was carried. And the court, the Honorable Supreme Court of India and the Bombay courts have said regarding the freedom of press, you don't have absolute freedom. You have to be very careful about the factuality of the facts to disseminate. This is your responsibility. And the Honorable Supreme Court has said and directed the government to disseminate information through proper channel so that the journalists can access to proper information. That's why the media and state governments issue bulletins every evening on their numbers of how many dead, how many affected, how many recovered, how many are being treated in the safe home, how many are being treated in the hospital, how many are critical, what are the number of beds, how many beds are free, how many beds are there in the government hospital, how many beds are there in the private hospital, etc. All those bare statistics are being disseminated by the government, and according to the Supreme Court, which has said in this pandemic that on the 31st March, their order says that you have to report the government's version. But that is not the only one you can report. You can, discuss on that. You can have your own interpretation on that. You can bring in the other sources. But over and above the government information being disseminated, you have to do all your analysis, all your other data, other sources, but you are bound to carry the government information. And the government information has also changed over the period of time. The comorbidity figures were used to be given separately. Now the figures are being together. So all those things are happening. So we need to report what we are getting. And then we can give a footnote, or we can say that, look, this was the report of the way the statistics were being given earlier. Now this is the way how the statistics are being given. So this is it, that the court has intervened, and the ethical considerations, and there is another medical ethics, that the disclosure of the positive persons, not only by name, by identity, the location, and etc. By the medical ethics and reporting of medical ethics, norms of reporting medical ethics, the name cannot be disclosed. Not only the name, the identity cannot be disclosed. And identity does not mean the naming of a person, but you portray him in such a manner that one can understand that who you are. So all those things are there in infodemic and ethical perceptions and freedom of press. And the last but not the least of my topic is the impact of COVID on media and media persons' job security. There has been a string. You see, the media growth rate was higher than the national growth rate. The annual growth rate of media and entertainment industry was higher than that of the national growth rate. It's true. The media and entertainment industry's growth rate in India is around 10%. And we know our national growth rate is, some say that it's 6% plus minus or something like that. But obviously it's higher, and it's still the media growth rate, media and entertainment, it's 2-digit. Fine. But does not mean that the rate of growth is growing at a good scale. Last year, the growth rate was similar. This year is also similar. So there's a stagnation. And the growth rate of print has fallen. The growth rate of television is stagnating. Growth rate of radio is stagnating. Whereas the growth rate of digital media, digital marketing, and gaming, these are increasing. The film used to be having a higher position, now it has come down to a lower position. I do not want to bother you with those statistics. You have those media reports, you can just get it. But what I want to say is the media was not working in a very good and safe mm, pace. But incidentally, media is an industry, but it is not run as a professional, as an industry. The job security of the contractual workers are not, secured, and we don't have working journalist tax. These are now being repealed and replaced by the labor codes, so which are also in the process of being in vogue, and then the journalistic laws of Working Journalist Act and Minimum Wages Act will no longer be there, because all individual labor acts will be repealed by these four major labor codes. So they said that the individual professional labor ethics will be brought in, but definitely that's it has not come yet. So job security is not there in the media industry, and the media industry was impacted very negatively in this way, because as I told you, the newspaper circulation has been shrink. The revenue model has gone down because the ad revenue has gone down drastically. So there was no industry operating, an industry or flourishing. Service industry was stopped. So there was a huge shrinkage of ad revenue. You have seen on earlier days, no newspaper was being supplied. Many people did not like to read physical newspapers, and the newspapers were reduced to 8 pages. Now it is coming back. Ad supplements are coming back, coming to normalcy. But the thing is, ad revenue has been reduced. So there is a negative impact. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Many people have been asked to go on leave without pay. And another reason for losing job is multitasking. So the industry has seen that, yes, not many people are not required in the office. People can work from home, so we save in our office expenditure by transport expenditure and all these. And multitasking, the mojo, mobile journalism, that one, the reporter can shoot, reporter can edit, and reporter can do voiceover from his mobile and send it the entire story through WhatsApp or through email or through Drive or through Crowd or anywhere. So one person is doing, a reporter is doing a cameraman's job and a video editor's job. So like multitasking, even a graphic artist's job, everything can be done. So for the reason of multitasking, there is job shrinkage. For the negative impact in revenue, there is a job shrinkage due to lack of full timers and the job safety and security. There is job shrinkage. The job shrinkage is there. A lot of media have stopped their editions. Mainstream media, important media, have stopped their editions. Some television channels have also suffered heavily. So there has been a suffering. We hope that time will come when the suffering will go out, and then we'll come back to normalcy. But in this connection, to the budding scribes, I have a small request that please be digitally savvy. You may have a dream to become an anchor in television or a reporter in the print. Please keep those dreams alive as plan A, but be a robust and very good at plan B, which is digital. You may not like digital, but you have to learn digital. We did not know that we have to type in the mobile to file stories when we joined the profession 3.5 decades before, when we had to pick up a telephone and there was no dial in the districts, and then we had to say number please, or we had to send telegrams and telexes from our distance places of reporting to our newspaper offices. But now we have to, we just do it, shoot it, send it. So we have learned, we had to learn. But you have to learn, you have to be tech savvy, digitally savvy, because this is the future. Digital media is the future. Independent journalism is the future, that you prepare your small videos, you upload it. There is a revenue model of the social media platform like Google and YouTube are giving you some revenue models. Lot of young entrepreneurs, journalism pass outs are starting their startups and doing their portals. And you see, the organizations and personalities require people to handle their social media, to handle their IT. So you can take up some consultancy on doing this, doing their IT, doing their Instagram manager, Facebook manager, and tweeting manager, and you can do it for many people. And then you can take up a profession. You can do a startup. You begin a startup. You can be an independent journalist shooting this film. So audiovisual, digital, everything you do, digital design, doing creatives, videos, you can do it, and a lot of other things you can do on your own, and should be able to do it, and you should give a trust that yes, I have to survive in digital. That is the future. You have to link your studies to the area where there is a demand for people. Like if you can go for gaming, these days one has to do multitasking. So that is my last, I should not say advice, my take, that you give trust the budding scribes and the students. You are more tech savvy, you are in this generation, give your trust on this, and then you will have to think of a career in digital platforms. And that is whatever I had to say. Thank you very much, and I regret my inefficiency, and thank you very much for giving a patient hearing. Thank you.
Hello,
Yes,
am I audible?
yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir. That was a very insightful information. And we have a couple of questions coming in as well, which we will address after our second speaker speaks. And thank you so much, sir, for all the information. Uh, I take extreme pleasure to call upon Mr. Mrityunjay Chatterjee, who is currently the Dean at School of Liberal Arts and Cultural Studies at Adam Arts University. Mr. Chatterjee has been a part of several eminent institutions and has been imparting his knowledge to many, many educators. He has also been a part of the media industry through several platforms, namely print, news agency, radio, and television. He has also been a part of BBC Bengali Service, All India Radio, Doordarshan, and others. He has held important positions with ETV Network and had also worked as a senior correspondent with UNI as well. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Uh, we are on the verge of good morning and good afternoon. So I begin with good morning because it's still 5 minutes to 12 o'clock. First of all, I need to clarify one thing that I was never a part of Doordarshan or BBC. I had been a regular packager with BBC and I had around 300 programs on Doordarshan. So, not the organizational part, but someone who contributed. The other organizations are fine. Uh, Shreyashish has given an exhaustive report on media and its ambits, and it's very difficult after such a ebullient speaker to really be on stage. But I'll try my bit, my small bit. Okay, so what has happened to media? Media has seen a transformation. Every one of us are talking about smart cities, smart telephone, smart televisions. Well, we have also become smart. In fact, my elderly people in my house have also learned how to go on an OTT platform or the over-the-top platform and see a movie from Netflix or from Amazon Prime. That's what really has happened because COVID-19, what has really done is leapfrogged us into an era which would have taken India around 10 years to be. So, and it's predicted by the 2020 we would have a billion people who would be net savvy. That's a major statement because it would have taken years for India to go to that level. So, digital, what Stashi's has ended with is the extension that I'm going to speak on is that media has gone digital and you have to be on the digital platform. There is no looking back. There is no looking back to online classes because we came to online classes more when the entire world had already begun 10 years ago. If you have attended course on Coursera or on Khan Academy, you know that digital on education was already there, online education was already there, and these are tangible certificates that you can really flaunt. If you do a course on Coursera, this becomes relevant in all kind of sectors. So online education is not something very new. but it has become a compulsion, and in the new normal, online education will stay. So, what is the basic thing that is going to happen? We will go from a physical to digital, but the physical part and the digital part will stay, and we have coined a new term called phygital, where you have maybe some portion of your study in the physical part of it and the rest portion of your study in the digital part of it. So that is what the future is all about. The future is digital. What has it affected the media about? Now, Stashish has already talked about media being downsizing. Hindustan Times has closed its 8 editions. That's a big statement. Hundreds of journalists have lost their job. What is the future? So there is a existential crisis for even media schools, because if media schools sprout out graduates every year or postgraduates, where would they be placed? Where the solution is not in lamenting that the basic existing media is fading out. The solution is to make yourself enabled to go and get employed in the digital media. There are thousands of things coming up from the editorial office that we all kind of talked about being in media. Because what was media? Khola chok kan maka, hate pech silar khata. That is exactly what was taught in our classrooms when we went to universities where me and Sneashish both were classmates. Where people used to tell that if you have your eyes and ears open, and if you have a pencil in your hand and a physical camera perhaps for that matter, you could be a journalist. Well, that statement is partly true today, not exactly. Because unless you are technically enabled, you don't exist in the media market. What is your technological enablement that every school should today teach? Is hands-on experience that you generally need to do. Because your camera angles, as Stacey was talking about, being a compare, being a newsreader, being a presenter, things have really changed. Because you have to understand that the whole concept of the physical media has gone for a churn. What is Doordarshan doing, or what is other television channel adapting to? Because there were no kind of option for people to come together and have new production. So they started to go back to their old kind of programs from the archive and bring it up. Why? Because there was a survey that was done, and it was found that when people are challenged, people become nostalgic. People think that the old was good. What a time it was when we used to be a child. Hence, to catch on that sentiment and to find an alternative, all the channels went back to their previous programs. They re-edited those programs remotely, and they came up with those a new look, perhaps some kind of anchor who came in and talked about certain things, and then the old content came up, and because the entire eyeballing was so kind of they had no other alternative but to look at the television screen, look at the mobile screen, so they got a lot of audience. But what drives media, not the audience. I remember one of those very renowned editor of a newspaper one day said, "ওরে তোরা আর বেশি কাগজ ছাপাস না, কাগজ ছাপলে, কাগজ পড়লে, কাগজ চলে না, বিজ্ঞাপনে কাগজ চলে." So basic thing is the ad revenue has drastically dropped. You see the kind of crisis that is happening to all those very popular games, the ISL and the IPL. They are very strive of sponsors. Why? Because people are afraid to spend. They don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. 70 million people have lost their jobs. 43 are being underpaid, 43 million underpaid. What is happening to the Indian economy? Everyone has either gone through a pay cut or a majority has already lost their job. So it is not that media is going through an existential crisis. It is that the entire kind of economy is gone for a churn. So what the basic thing to look forward to, the basic thing that Snehashish ended with, that the journalists, and who are the worst kind of vulnerability has touched us as media educators, people who go to classroom. It is very, very difficult when you go to a television station and you do a comparing over hours, you feel it is so difficult to keep yourself motivated as a performer in a radio station rather than a television station. Because in a television station, you have a camera and a cameraman, and you have floor assistants, 50 technicians working around you. But in a radio station, you are alone. You can't see your audience. There is nobody else but you. The exact thing is that a media person, a teacher, or a student have all been isolated. In isolation, performing is a much difficult task, same as a player who plays to empty calories. The biggest problem is motivation. So, motivation plus a compelling need to upgrade your self technology are the two major challenges that have been thrown open by this sector. Please try to understand that nothing really has changed. The gamut is the same. People are more now adept to seeing television or computer screens. But the problem is how to run them, because the people, the sponsors, the promoters, they are feeling the pinch, both punch in creating content, pinch because there is no revenue coming in, there is no advertisement coming in. So how do you survive? That's a very, very big question, and that question is going to take a few months, maybe a year from now on, hoping that the vaccine would come in and we would be liberated. But the basic questions of people who are graduating this year is getting a job. The basic question of thousands of resource persons who want to be teachers is to get a job. The basic question of already existing teacher is to upgrade yourself and perform when nobody is looking. The motivation is a very, very enabling a factor for anybody who goes to class, because a teacher without students being there physically is a difficult situation altogether. So their entire ecosystem is gone for a churn. And perhaps COVID-19 is one of the greatest kind of pandemic that the world has seen, much, much more than all the pandemics that the world has seen, which has become a factor where you both are endangered, but the scope of growth is very, very high, because you are leapfrogged into a kind of new normal where everything is going to be a digital platform or a format or a software that you need to enable. The whole world is, or the education concept is going back to what India began with, the liberal art form of education. Because tomorrow will not be a time for only specialists. Tomorrow will be also a time for generalists who know a bit of everything to succeed when that particular specialization ceases to exist. We have to understand also, like any other forms of avocation, a person learned a specialty, a specific skill or a specialization, and he survived 35 to 40 years of his time when he played into the employment, and he still stayed relevant and retained his job. In the emerging world, shelf life of a specialty is going to be barely 3 to 5 years. What happens when the specialty is gone? And you are faced with an existential crisis because your job is at peril. So, what will tide you over for the next 6 months when you learn your specialization anew? You have to basically know a new specialization. What happens to that? You only stay in that specialization. I think the teachers who are listening to this webinar, students who are listening to this webinar must take note that a student should today not only be enabled technically, a student should not only be enabled with the required skills and education, but they should be enabled with the 360-degree wholesome learning where a student would be able to have a kind of attitude that is malleable, adaptable. He should have team skills. He should have people skills. That is one of the biggest kind of skills that a student should have today. Unless you can exist in a team, unless you can lead in a team, unless you can tide over a crisis when your specialization has ceased to exist. Because when we came in, a rudimentary camera would do the job. The whole perhaps we are a very lucky generation. I started with news agency and a Wipro machine which would print 40 words a minute going from one end to the other. I have been very lucky, or we have all been very lucky, this generation, which has seen from that rudimentary kind of technology to the most advanced. This is a transformation that we were lucky and yet we have survived. Ideally, we have learned it the very hard way. When we learned in our journalism, in our classes, there was not even one small equipment to really let us have a hands-on experience. Today, colleges and all those universities today are advanced with every software and hardware. That is what is the enabling factor. Please try to get your students not only to learn a specialization, because specialization and technology, please mark my word, will not give them a job or, or be able to keep them in the job for a length of time. Because jobs would be hard to get, one. Number two, jobs would be very specialist plus generalist combined together. Because please see an example. A person who can edit well can will be sought after and would be given a job. But the software like say Final Cut Pro became Final Cut Express. Tomorrow you will be begin going to something else. So once the specialization ceases, what would the editor do? The editor has to learn anew. And this 6 months of period when he learns anew, what happens to him? Is he getting a job? Who is that employer who would be kind enough to continue with him for the next 6 months? So what basically happens to him? Is the question, is the challenge. If he has the team skill, attitudinal skills, people skills, communication abilities, then these are basic qualities which will tide him over. So a person who can also edit and also write a good copy would be more in demand. A person who is an editor, writes a good copy, can also shoot, would be in demand. A person who can write a good copy and editor and a person who can shoot, but also can drive a car because it has to reach a physical destination, would be on demand. So you can understand that a person, the concept of leading from the front is totally gone. We first came into a world where we celebrated IQ. because we always look at people and say, my God, what an IQ he has. Then we went into a world where EQ was equally important. Intelligence quotient, emotional quotient. Because without an emotional quotient, it does not exist. A good person, a person who cannot exist in a team, a person who does not have the basic skills will never be a person sought after. But today, it is the biggest thing that has been added. IQ plus EQ plus AQ. Unless you have adaptability quotient, unless you know what is an adverse quotient, you do not exist in a team. So, our job of the educators have really changed because we could always give them the basic education and meet them well. I remember the day I got a first class in the university. I called my teacher and said, "Sir, আমি first class পেয়েছি।" উনি বললেন, "বাবা ভালো হয়েছে," and he never ever furthered that communication. But when we are in the private sector, we cannot do that. We have to provide them with gainful employment. That is the biggest challenge. How do we make them employable is the basic thing that we need to look at. We can go into, because I could have talked about a lot on the OTT platforms, the basic concept and the technology of it, which was discussed. But I think taking off from what Snehashi said is this is the basic, and I see maybe more people who teach rather than students are there in the audience. So I would basically want to tell you that how vulnerable we are rather than the students. Because at Adams University, we are now going on the orientation mode, and we have hundreds of people from different backgrounds who are listening to us. How do we adapt to make them interesting, make the classes interesting? You always see that there are few kinds of teachers whose classes are always popular. Why? The classes of some of the greatest thinkers have been not peopled by students. We have always known that and seen that, we have experienced that. Why? Because content only cannot drive a classroom. Content only cannot teach a student. Content only cannot enable a student. What does enable the entire thing is the adaptability, the 360-degree kind of the abilities of a teacher. Because a teacher should first create an interest. Unless the interest is there, I am saying this, these are very basic, but I'm saying this because in online classes, perhaps this is the biggest challenge. Because media today has gone into a spin with the online, the digital platform. The multimedia platform has been not only given rise to eyeballs, there are not many people who are looking at you, but see the subscription rate of even the popular chat for film kind of entertainment channels, platforms. They are 399, 299. They are basically for a whole year they charge you for 299, 399. But the basic concept before we had gone into a lot of the business model of Netflix and Amazon and Boot, and the recent reports that we get from PwC are very reportable. 70% of revenue loss has been encountered by them, even though eyeballing has increased by 30 to 40%. Also, let us also kind of consider that live in a country where there is a Bharat and there is an India. What is Bharat? Bharat is the country where getting, and I can positively cite you an example. It has been in news, it has been taken up, and this person is been awarded from the education ministry. There is a history teacher of our group. I exactly don't remember his name, but it was in news all through. He's found a neem tree in front of his house. When he went up the neem tree, he got the network. So for 4 months continuously, from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, he basically went up on the neem tree and sat on a platform to connect to his students. And his classes were subscribed by 90% of the students enrolled. What does it say? It says that enabler is important, but the teacher is the supreme person who enables a student to learn. Why should a student walk 6 kilometers from the remote corner of his home where he cannot connect to network to go across perhaps a kind of small stream, go across there and stand under a tree or sit on a platform somewhere outside to receive and listen and participate in a class. So who are most, the whole ecosystem has become very vulnerable. The Bharat of our country cannot afford the basic machines. You have seen news coming up in all kinds of newspaper where people have traded their land to buy a smartphone for the child. But can all parents afford to buy a smartphone on a tab? No. So what happens to that tribe, to that part of the country? We are talking about the new education policy where media also will be the biggest challenge. Okay, I'll go into a basic thing that have come up. Creating content from old, that is something I've already talked about. Integrating third-party content in your library. This is also very, very important. When you create a content or you get a content, you can immediately download and create your own library. That is also a very important thing that has happened. Social recommendation and groups. Nowadays, we used to go to say a cinema and we used to see a cinema together. We used to come to somebody's house and enjoy perhaps a game together. That is not possible because of physical distancing, because of social distancing, as we call it. So what do we do? There is a concept that you can create a kind of group of among like-minded people, like interest people, and have Netflix party is a new concept. You can become a part of the party or a community. So what we are doing is on digital platform, we're creating communities. Even if we are not being able to go to cinema halls and see a film together, or go to our relative's house to sit down and see watch a platform together. There are two other things that have happened: assisted reality and virtual reality. You see, many of the singers or the many of the performers are kind of through assisted reality are now performing. We have a program on Saturday where this part of orientation is an entertainment program. In our kind of physical world, we used to call a party, we used to call a band, we used to call singers, performers, comic artists, but we cannot do it today. So what is the alternative? With assisted reality, we are basically organizing an entertainment program for our students. Go to virtual reality. Have you seen this Bahubali 2? You have seen so many things happening in the background. Remember, if you go to a set in Ramoji Film City where it was shot, there are no gardens or practically nothing that you saw there happening on screen. It was enabled by virtual reality. The travel platforms, you can go into a pyramid and you can see every part of the pyramid just because of virtual reality. Today you can touch and feel almost on screen everything that you see on virtual reality. So the two most important thing that is going to enable you in as a performer, as a travel platform, or where the students are going to get jobs in future, because because the physical world will come back. I am sure that with the vaccine coming in, with people getting vaccinated, there will be a physical world. But we have changed for good. let us all understand this, and let us go back to class and let the students know that this basic world is not going to change in another 10 years. Rather, many things are going to happen in the 10 years, which will all be digital. The best thing about digital and the changing new normal is that we don't know what is going to happen. And the bad thing is that we really don't know what is going to happen in the next 2 years. What jobs will be created? What jobs will be lost? I am sure the people who are passing for the last 3 years or 4 years into different specialization will come into a world where there perhaps the specialization that they have been taught will be challenged, because something new is going to happen. Something new has already happened in the technological world. We all in the practical world, physical world, we know that Sony kind of outdates its own equipment in 6 months. That is exactly what is going to happen to this world. The new kind of job opportunities that will entail people to learn the 360-degree of learning. Please try to understand that we are emerging and going to another world where specialists will be challenged more than generalists, because generalists will survive and specialists will have it tough, because the specialists will only learn one hardware or one software, and that one hardware and one software is not going to last beyond 3 to 5 years. The thing will change. The shelf life of specialization is going to change in 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years every time. So the specialization will change. The person has to change and has to learn anew. So the world that we are emerging into, we had a world where we learned and we practiced. This is going to be a new normal where you will learn, then over a period of time you will unlearn, and then going to relearn. So unlearn, learn, unlearn, relearn is going to be the future, and everyone should psyche himself or herself that that is the world where we are going. We have been challenged in our employment time. I have changed as a. I started as a newsman. I worked there for 23 years. Went from news agency, from a news weekly to agency to television to radio, and everywhere newspapers that I worked for. But then I came into education full time, education administration full time, and you see, I've already changed four to five times. The people of the future in the next normal will perhaps change 15 new vocations in the lifetime of 35 to 40 years when they will work. And each will be perhaps absolutely different from what they have done last. So things are going to change. There's also another concept of being hyper local. See, what is happening to my locality is going to be the new kind of content that would be required, because we want to know how many COVID patients are there in my locality. What is the basic situation of my locality? What are the different kind of outlets that are there in my locality? So you can always see that whenever you type a name of a restaurant or a place in on your mobile, they tell you exactly which is the nearest to you. This is the basic artificial intelligence that has taken up, logarithm that has taken up, algorithm that has taken up. Once you start, say, you go to the internet and you type out a particular kind of a place that you're looking for, it will follow you. Anytime there is a search, it will follow you. This is exactly what is going to happen. I saw a video very recently when one of the amirs of the Middle East walked into a aerodrome with a huge robo following him as the bodyguard. Well, that is going to happen. That is the future. Technology will enable people to such kind of extent that, and media will be the platform. it will remain the best place or the greatest place for people to view what is new and what is happening, learn what is new and what is happening, be enabled by what is new and what is happening. But media has will is going to change for good, because media from a mediated media to a niche media, consumption level is going to change, because I saw, I wrote, someone edited, and you read was a mediated media, where the office of the editor was supreme, where office of the editor kind of told you that this is right and that is wrong, when the editorial told you how to think, and what should be your level of thinking, to a place when in that twin tower attack, what happened is that a poor little man made a small money to take his family to the twin towers on a holiday. He was a very small time man. He was basically taking a shot of the twin towers when it was attacked. Do you know what happened to that man? That man today is a multi-trillionaire, or even higher than if he could be there. What enabled him? He was there on time, and he had taken the right shot. It was bought by every television channel around the world, by every platforms around the world, and he became a trillionaire. So this also talks about the most important part of being in media: timing. Unless your timing is right, unless you can transform yourself into the right platform in time, you're going to be outdated. Like perhaps Kodak. You know that we are all talking about digital films, and you have basically cameras that your mobile phone is such a wonderful camera. You'll be very surprised to know that in 1975, Kodak was the first kind of company which invented the digital film. And Mr. Jefferson, who basically was an employee with Kodak, who invented that digital film, went and told his bosses, "Boss, this is what is going to happen to the future. So let's talk about digital films." Kodak immediately sacked that person and put that entire concept under the carpet. Why? Because Kodak was the biggest player in the market, in the world, with the film business. Today, Kodak is nowhere. Today, Uber runs the greatest taxi operations around the world, but do not have one taxi. BNB does not have one property, but is the biggest hotel booking centers in the entire world. And what is the medium that they're going through? They're going through media, digital media. That is exactly what is going to happen to all the students. The basic thing is there is a lot of hope, there is no despair. We are all thinking that the transformation is so drastic, people are going to lose their job and there will be nothing, and people are going to be thrown out of their vocation. No. If you can enable yourself to be at the right time, to catch the right opportunity, you will be a person who will stay in the market. You should be a person who should have the right attitude, the basic EQ and the AQ, IQ plus EQ plus AQ. Please, teachers, I will request the principal ma'am and all my good friend Indrani and all the teachers that are here to teach your students not only IQ but EQ and AQ. Only then these people would be relevant in the new normal. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. That was an amazing discussion. Now we will head towards the question and answer session. And both of our speakers, any of our speakers, are free to address the questions that have come to us. Am I audible, sir? Can somebody say?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So the first question that we have is, People all over are talking about opening jobs in the media industry. Even our speakers also threw some light on it. So, do you think it is the right time to join the industry? Or if not, how should one go about joining the media world in a tough time like this?
Who's this question to take to? I mean, Snehashish?
So, I will use it for Snehashi sir also, please.
Let Snehashish take it and then I will take it.
All right.
Snehashish, mute. You are muted. You are muted. Yeah. You are muted.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, the thing is, see, whether it is the right time to join or not, who's going to decide? If you are a prospective employee, it is not you who decides that whether you will get the job or not. You will have to go on applying. There will be new jobs. There will be may not be in the media sector as such. See what Professor Chatterjee has already said. So in the new normal, you have to have the AQ. So the parlance will expand. The horizon will have you have to expand your horizon. You have to whatever wherever you have been giving your post CV, you go give that. Wherever you see any possibility of getting employment, go there. But you have to do something on your own. You have to change your mindset that I may not get a job per se, a salaried job, but I have to earn something by delivering something on the digital platform. As I said, that handling Facebook account, handling Twitter account, handling Instagram account for organizations and personalities, preparing small videos, being very active in the social media, having organizing this kind of webinars, and there will be lot of distant work that you are required to do. Media skill per se does not confine you to work in the media sector as such. You have to expand your horizon, explore the possibilities, and venture to new possibilities. Time is difficult, but we all are hopeful that things will change. New opportunities are going to be created. People are saying that there are boom in various sectors. So you have to see where the new job is there. Maybe distant working, maybe something, maybe preparing small videos, going there. That platform I said that now the revenue model of the digital platforms that you prepare something and then you put it up on that platform and then there is a revenue model if it is watched by so many, and you have to be aggressive like spreading your message across through WhatsApp, Facebook and things like that. So you have to explore the possibilities and you have the traditional sectors. Maybe some people say that they are retrenching old people, but they are taking new people because that will balance their cost. So cost to the company will be much lower. They will have minimum people. So there are lots of ifs and buts. So you have to see what has happened. You have to be proactive, and obviously, I'll say venture into the new areas. Shubha, you want to say something, Professor Chatterjee?
Yeah, basically, I think everyone should now kind of understand and comprehend that the job, the office, and the employer are all going to change because people have found that all over the world, if you go by the recent survey, I've got all the surveys in front of me, that only 33% of the people are needed to run an office, and that is applies to media also. So the concept that we went to Dalhousie, I really was very very sad when my campus in Adamasi is in Maharashtra. So I always wanted to go to Bhattala or Esplanade and go to a place and have an office. Those kind of things are of a past. You can basically now an employee would sit in Kolkata, work for an office in perhaps US, have colleagues from Venezuela or from Adelaide at the same time. So cultures are going to mingle, thoughts are going to mingle, working abilities and ethics are going to mingle for a single product. That is exactly why adaptability quotient is so very important. There can be no kind of doctor's prescription saying this is the right time. Every time is the right time. Everything is the right time. Are you the right horse? That is the question. Because running a course needs a right horse. If you can run a course, and there are very good example of a teacher of mine who said that there are only three kinds of horses: a horses which runs the derby, the horses which is used by the mounted police, and a horse which is left on the maidan to fend for yourself. That is exactly what is going to be challenging for the people. That is exactly what I was trying to say to all the students, that you need to be the right horse, you need to have the right qualities, but besides your right education, you must have the right AQ, my dear, and the EQ. Because setbacks will come, job losses will be basically a thing of everybody's life as we go on. We used to basically have people who sit on the veranda and look at the sky and say, I lost my job. No. The moment you lose your job, you relearn. The moment you relearn, you reapply, you get another job. Perhaps this will be a time when you will have multiple jobs at the same time. Because Snehashi was talking about assignments, not permanent job per se. If you go to the West, you see very hardly people having permanent jobs. They generally have their pay at the end of the week, and their retrenchment is high. So they celebrate their retrenchment day. They go to a pub and have a beer perhaps because they don't have to work today. Everyone is employed in some way or the other. And basically the dignity of labor would be a very big thing of the future. Because you are a journalist, you will be a journalist lifelong is not any guarantee, my dear. So the basic thing is change of attitude, IQ, EQ, and AQ. That will basically be the rule. Thank you.
Thank you, Shobha. Uh, the next question that we have is, since we have, since both of our speakers have worked with various forms of media and have seen the industry closely, in the era of digitalization, do you see a threat to print media?
Shall I take it first?
Yeah, you take all questions you take first and then.
Thank you. Uh, you see, when television came, people thought that there's an end of newspaper. When television became popular, it was not as such. When online media came, people thought that it was a threat. It's true that in the West, especially, I have seen many years back when the major newspapers like Chicago Tribune, New York Times, and Washington Post have given their thrust and priority to their online editions. This is the era of convergence journalism. The newspaper will not consider you to be only a news provider through the newspaper in the next morning. It will not leave you throughout the day when you consume news alerts from one channel, news clips, videos from another channel, breaking news from another channels, etc., etc. They want to hold you throughout the day. So there will be there are web portals of all major newspapers. So you will get news alerts, you will get breaking news, you will get small news, you get developments throughout the day. The judgment is out and things like that. And you get backgrounders, you get stories, all sorts of things. So role of newspaper will change. Maybe more trust on digital platform, but the printed newspaper, the printed circulation may reduce, but maybe the web circulation and printed circulation altogether will increase. And you must have seen that various newspapers have made their web papers chargeable. So people would like to pay charges, and there is a new trend. Like we used to say that the revenue of a newspaper comes 65% from ad revenue and 35% from circulation revenue. But now in this platform, things will change. Circulation revenue will exchange, subscription revenue will increase. So that's why you get lesser ads, uninterrupted news, because you are paying for it. Like OTT, you are paying very little, but you are getting something good, and you have a possibility of avoiding the ad. So you will get uninterrupted news, but newspaper will operate in a different platform, an add-on platform along with the digital presence and presence throughout the day. Earlier, when we went there with some assignments, we saw that we television journalists were fighting throughout the day. There are several bulletins in a day, if not 24 into 7 channels. So we were filing hourly stories, updates, etc. Our newspaper colleagues were relaxing, and only in the evening they sat and they wrote one story or two stories and they filed. Fine. But now, when we go for such assignments, we see that they are also there in the laptop in the media centers and giving updates throughout the day. So their habit has also changed. They are also clicking something and sending. So all this convergence journalism is the new era which will have to be adopted by newspapers. So the operational scale, operational balance between the print circulation and web presence will change, but newspaper will have a different avatar, including the web. This is what I have to say. And journalists will have to be expert in convergence journalism. Professor Charit.
If I'm asked, newspaper as such, physical newspaper, yes. That according to the new surveys, by 2040, newspapers will cease to exist. But those are things, because we have had such kind of futuristic surveys, but things have been proved wrong. I would love to be proved wrong, but that is exactly what the survey says. As Sayashi said, that everything is going to follow you. The algorithms are going to take you anything that you go on the net. The newspaper is going to follow you, inform you, and keep you abreast of everything. Also, the sad thing is we are losing our reading interest. Who is interested in the news except for the old generation and people like us who still have 5 to 6 newspapers coming every day in the morning? People, my daughter doesn't read. So the basic thing is it will perhaps be kept to news excerpts which will follow you all through the day. As soon as you go into the net, the news will follow you, and then also it will filter your interest. If you are only interested on say markets, it will give you market updates. If you are interested in event updates, it will do so. Or if you are interested in entertainment updates, it will only talk about the new films that are going to come, because they are very artificial intelligence is going to rule the world, and that is exactly what is going to happen. So we can't say yes or no to the question. Yes to the physical newspaper, but physical newspaper will exist in a new avatar. Yes. I'll take the last question because I have my orientation. I have to rush there. Thank you.
Okay. So the next question is, if I'm proficient in editing and writing, but not very comfortable with the software, and have a difficulty in adapting to technicalities, will it pose as a threat to pursue a career in journalism?
Exactly. There is no question. There is no doubt about it. And we can't be a dinosaur and still stay in this modern world. So please, my advice to this person who says that I have a problem in writing on hard copy, please try to write on your on software and start practicing. It will take only perhaps 15 days, and you will be very good with it. So there is no question or lamenting or going to town saying "Asian law or Corona, Canada will leak the partner." It does that. There is nothing like that. The new world takes you. That is exactly what I told you about. You have to relearn, and you have to unlearn and then relearn again. So that is the question. If there she says anything else.
Thank you, Shubho. I think what you have said, I have nothing much to say. I'll say it the same thing in a different manner. The content is the king, we know, but format, the technique, is also important today. And as Shubho has rightly said, it will take 15 days. I am not a tech savvy person, you have seen, but I survive, try to survive, I try to learn. I am also writing in a Bengali script in WhatsApp, so I had to learn. And once you start doing it, it took time to put Pandotta and took time to put Chandobindu, but I had to learn. So you can't help it. This is nothing much. you will be able to do it. There are ones who are the adaptability towards technology to some of our friends which are higher in always, and there are some which are not so higher. But for those who are not higher, will have to go an extra mile to learn it, because you will not be able to survive in the modern area if you are not tech savvy. And as Professor Chatterjee has rightly said, it's nothing great. Somebody will learn in 7 days, somebody will learn in 15 days, somebody will learn in 1 month. That is the difference, nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay, so since Mrityunjay said that he has got an emergency and he's got to leave, so in that case, I thank Mrityunjay very much. Though he is my friend for a long, long time from the university, then with his busy schedule, he has agreed to come to the webinar and spoke so well with all his knowledge and all his informations. Thank you once again, Mrityunjay. We'll meet again.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much. Thank you, Principal Ma'am. Thank you, all the students. Thank you, Stashish. Thank you.
Welcome.
Snashish, please stay and take one or two questions more.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Anindita, carry on.
Yes. So, sir, the next question would be, can press conference be transformed into web conference to avoid gathering? Because every day
Sorry,
we
sorry,
have
which
seen
conference? Press conference is transformed into
can it be transferred to web conference, internet
web
conference?
conference.
Yeah, because every day we have seen ICMR, West Bengal government, WHO, Indian government, to conduct press conference even in this COVID situation.
Yes, this is the new normal. This is the new normal. There are some press conferences by Government of India and government, state government, where some people are physically present. Obviously, suppose the hall capacity is 100, they will allow only 50 or 30. They will ask you to come on rotation to enable you to ask questions, because you have to leave a seat between the two and things like that. But otherwise also, yes, you may not be able to ask questions physically. You are left with only the video output, is what is known as media briefing. Somebody comes, somebody says whatever he or she has to say, and you are given the output in the any social media platform, and you record it and you play it, or you tie it up with your channel and it is shown live. So that is there. But press conference is primarily where a journalist, a reporter, is given the prerogative to ask questions. Now that for a new normal may not be there. Then they may start asking, when they're accepting questions through chat box like what you are doing. It could be the same thing. Somebody will conduct, and the all others, we the journalists will post our questions in the chat box, and he or she will take it. So you have to accept that firstly, you are operating in a lesser manpower, lesser equipment, lesser crew. So you cannot send it there, and you cannot lesser equipment also. That physical backpack or DSNG, you are unable to send it, and you should not send it. You cannot do crowding. So you have to operate in a lower scale, in not economic as such, but manpower and technical equipment use. Technical equipment means you require manpower to run it. So you do away with it. So you are getting it supplied. So it takes care of your cost curtailment also. It decreases your cost. So you are getting it. Maybe we see that the press conferences give opportunities to a limited number of journalists to be present and ask questions, only a couple of them. And later on, they can take questions, or earlier that there will be a press conference at 3 o'clock. By 1 to 2 o'clock, you will post all your questions, probable questions, or after the press conference, the questions will be accepted through chat box. All sorts of things will come. Now we are going through a crisis situation where health protocols are the prime thing. We cannot break the protocol. So that is why we need to operate in such a manner. But this protocol is going to remain, because I'm getting the sound bite only in my WhatsApp. So I won't have to go to the press conference. I get it and I use it. So whether I'm using it or not is very important. Whether my viewers are getting to see that in my channel is very important. Where do I get it? By sending our own people, or by getting it from their WhatsApp group, or by getting it from somewhere else. Viewers are not going to see. The newspapers, the reporters may not go there. They can see the live press conference, sitting at home and file a story and send it to their newspaper office, and the newspaper can carry it and you can read it in the next morning. So how do you acquire is not the matter. But obviously, press conference means what I said, giving a prerogative to the journalist to ask questions. I think things will change. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is how much humanitarian should media be in handling this crisis situation?
If I've understood the question correctly, how humanitarian India is in
Yeah, in
handling this
handling,
crisis.
yeah,
You
in the
see,
media sector specifically.
in the media sector,
Yes,
uh, generally, you see, we are getting both kinds of stories. We are getting uh, social distancing being stigmatized, and there is a stigma among people. Like you become positive, you are isolated. Yes, isolated you have to be, but mentally isolated, physically isolated, and you are looked down upon. This kind of things are there. It used to be there much more. And we also see a lot of positive stories that the nurses are going extra mile. Firstly, the doctors and the paramedics. Some doctors are not practicing, but some other doctors are going to the otherwise who are going to treat the COVID patients. So obviously they are doing it. They are joining their offices and doing their jobs and duties. It's there. But at the same time, we see that they are looked down upon when they go back. They are quarantined after the duty of 14 days duty. There are for some cases for quarantine for a week or get them tested, and then they go back to their locality, their home. They are not allowed to stay. So those kind of stories are there in general. We see COVID warriors, we see the COVID volunteers, we see the people who have come out of COVID. They are coming back and help out in various places, with a lot of courage. In the media sector also there, and I have been in a webinar yesterday evening where uh, journalists from neighboring countries were stating that in those countries, in spite of the fact that knowing somebody is positive, he or she was asked to join and do duties. Now in India perhaps it's not happening because the social distancing and the safety norms and health protocols are being followed. In many newspapers and media organizations, they have asked people not to enter the office. You go out, collect information, send it from outside. Don't come. People who are going outside should not intermingle with people who are remaining inside. In some media organizations, a nearby hotel is being occupied and arranged, and people are staying in the hotel and coming to office. Some media organizations, so journalists who are attending office are debarred from using common public transport. They have to come either their own vehicle where they are not supposed to give lift to any others. So contacting and social distancing is measured very, very carefully, and distant recording and working from home. The BBC has done a wonderful program that how a television program can be produced in a distant manner. The anchor was in one place, the producer was in one place, the engineer was in another place, and they did a live program. So all those things are there. The newspaper pages were made up by our journalist friends from their residences. So all these things took place. But yes, in humanitarian, the job losses were there, inevitable. So they say that it is inevitable, and at this time, job losses means something else, and a lot of other things are happening. So there are humanitarian, there are non-humanitarian. So it's in all sectors. It's in all sectors, but some sectors have been more generous. Who could afford to be generous? Some sectors, many sectors who earn their daily earning, they could not give it to their employees because say that there is no earning. So how do you give it? Where from I give it? So things have happened. Maybe salaried persons may be the lesser affected, but I should not say least affected, because salaried persons also got affected, maybe smaller way or in a major way. The daily wages were affected much, much more. The migrant laborers were affected, but daily wages, and the self-employed persons who could not, go out and earn and do their job. So a lot of things are there, but in the media also there are self-employed, there are service people, there are organizations who can manage, there are organizations who had to go for layoff, who had to ask them to go on leave without pay. So all these things are there, humanitarian, non-humanitarian, both. Yes.
Sir, I hope you have the bandwidth for two more questions.
Yeah, I have time and everything. Don't worry. I
Okay,
have done
okay,
all FOPA in the beginning, but at the end, I would do whatever I could do.
okay, no problem, sir. The second last question would be, having spent years in this industry, what, according to you, might be the new normal in the industry in the next 2 years? Anything particular budding journalists should keep in mind?
I think this we have deliberated at length, the digital, digital, and digital. You have to, you see, the traditional journalism may not be in picture in the same way it used to be. The structure is going to change, adaptability, which Professor Chatterjee was highlighting, and the digital digital knowledge, to be digitally savvy, and the traditional role of a journalist, the IEC sector, information education communication sector, and social media handling, all those new things, social media ads, creatives preparation, independent journalism, making your becoming your own documentary producer, making your own video maker, mobile journalist, all these independent journalists, social citizen journalists, social media activists, all those roles are coming up. So obviously you'll have to adapt to new technology. What is going to happen 2 years later? It's very difficult. It's a, now we are in the deep crisis. Maybe in the beginning of 2021, we will try to get over, all the industries will get over. But you have to keep in your mind that the media industry's growth rate still is positive, but in many subsectors, the growth rate is negative. And the growth rate will not, the rate of growth will not be much higher. So obviously, the picture is not very bright, but newer opportunities are coming, and that too in the digital platform. So one has to think of it. One has to extend, like content wise, IEC component, the information education communication, all statutory organizations, government, private, self like municipalities, local self government organizations, they would require people. There will be NGOs. So social platform will be much more used, and you have to be able to work in social platforms, and you have to see for newer roles of a journalist. The traditional role of a journalist, that I'll be an editor or a reporter or a producer or a script writer, all those things will go. Multitasking, newer areas, and maybe mainly on digital side one should give importance, because all others are, I should not say nosediving. In our country it will not nosediving, but it is, future is not very bright in the other sectors in the traditional media, which both Professor Chatterjee and myself have been trying to say. So your new area, sunrise area, is this. It has been identified. Now you change your mindset, try to learn, and try to be tech savvy and utilize the newer opportunities. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, the last question would be from me as a budding journalist. Uh, so now that we are all working from home and there's breaking all the time, and how do we streamline working from home, or how do we streamline working in silos better? Do you think becoming self-sufficient is the only key? So how do we exactly go about it?
Let me tell you one thing. When initially work from home came, I was very disturbed. Now, there was a system. We all were in it for years together, depending on particular organization. Each organization has a workflow and a structure. You have a role to play and things like that. Why journalists? Principal ma'am is there, your professors are there. Now, people did not know what to do, and they face the digital divide problem. If you start a class, then half of the class could say that why you are depriving. So, and you are not in a position to buy bandwidth and distribute it to everyone. You are not in a position to give the equipment, that is a mobile phone, at least not a laptop or a desktop, to every student. How do you connect to the students? Even if you want to give a laptop, how would you give it? You cannot ask them to come, and you cannot procure the laptop, at least for first 2 months. So situations were very, very tough. Now gradually we are evolving. Yes, there is a problem of bandwidth, but in a city college, the problem is lesser. There are problems like the rural areas, the universities and the colleges, they are adapting to various other technologies. They are posting it through their video lectures, and that is remaining in a domain. When through telephone, the audio they are getting, and sometimes they are coming to a place where the signal is little more. And we have heard those stories where a poor cycle rickshaw peddler had to buy, or a poor farmer had to buy a smartphone for his daughter, and then somebody committed suicide. That in the class, everybody else had a smartphone, and this person who was a farmer's daughter did not have a smartphone. All these things are there. So similarly, as let me tell you and share with you, rather, both of us are working from home. Initially, I was very disturbed. I didn't know how to cope with it. Like so many phone calls, that phone calls are also getting disconnected. The bandwidth problems are there. And then over and above, we had Amphan. There was no connectivity. I had to go out and sit at my internet provider at their office. I said, look, I am sitting at your office. Unless and until I get my bandwidth and my internet connection, I am not going to go from your office. So all these things are there, but we had to manage. Then we had to streamline, and the clock, the body clock has also changed. Many people are working, I don't know why, late at night, and getting up much late, and you have to work. And then you see, I had to disconnect so many phone calls, and sometimes I had to take phone calls. So 2 hours keeping free, maybe from at home. So it's difficult, and I do not have anything to mention about the gender. I should not be misquoted, but maybe we still have certain typical works assigned to a particular gender, male or female. So obviously, the ladies working from home could have been much bigger problem, that they had to work at home, work from home, because all those other aids and the helping hands did not come. So a lot of pressures, psychological pressures, that you are confined there. Firstly, the journalists, we don't remain at home. So gradually we thought that I'm there with my family. Oh, great opportunity. Then we saw something different. There are certain things which uh, did not take place earlier. So all those problems are there. Now you have to have a routine of your own, number one. Yes, the journey time is curtailed, but see, face-to-face discussion. Now many people are coming just for a phone call. Instead of phone call, they are coming to Duo. They are coming to WhatsApp call, video call, so that you discuss, plan, deliver properly. Things are the new normal. Things are settling down. The new protocols are settling down. Earlier, people would have said, no, no, I'll not talk over telephone. Please do come. Now people cannot ask you to come to their home. So they said, okay, you call me at such and such time, or I am busy throughout the day. I'll call you at such and such time. Then we'll discuss you, or I will record whatever I have to say for 5-10 minutes, and I'll send it to you. You decipher a print story out of my statement. So these are becoming new normal. Well, the HR and the mental health is being talked about. All those other factors from working from home, it's difficult. Firstly, the new role, the new normal, and existing role and structure has been stopped, and a new role has emerged. Gradually, over 3-4 months, we have emerged, and it has come into practice, and how things are happening, and the distant recording, distant production. People have been able to do it, maybe with a compromise to quality, and you save a lot of time. It is easy to say that you can use those times to other works, but I know personally, or you will also vouch me, it may not. You always have a tension of what would be your next story, whom to call, whether he or she will oblige, and sitting office and making a call. And but you see, already we have, even if I have a land phone on my desk in office, we were preferred to contact someone through mobile, because contact him directly, or he knows, or the called party knows that who is on the other side. So mobile working we are accustomed with. So it is completely a new phenomenon, depending on each sector, because in the IT sector, there had been lot of work from home earlier, which will continue for them. So they had maybe a smaller shift. We, the journalists, had a different kind of shift. The teachers had a different kind of shift. So, and the connectivity, bandwidth, your equipment, your everything had to be there. Ideally, you could use your free time in studying something else, making your story more enriched over a lot of research material, lot of other materials which your story should have, quote unquote, you have researched. But I don't know how far you are able to do it, or how far I am able to do it. And maybe the OTT platforms, we all have logged on, and then we are spending a lot of time. At least I can say that my consumption of Facebook and WhatsApp have increased a lot, and I'm watching OTT cinema, films, and serials in OTT platforms, and watching television also, but not much because I have to make phone calls, and a lot of it depends on person. It's a new kind of thing. You have to isolate yourself from your home, the other work in home and their family, and then you have to restrict to uninterrupted time for 2 hours for some work and things like that, and you are having difficulties of doing what you could do it from your office, like face to face, and always has an anxiety of whether you are doing it correctly and rightly. You are unable to reach out a person. The telephone connectivity is giving a problem, bandwidth is giving a problem, and all sorts of things are there, and the mental health and anxiety of being retrained, anxiety of a lot of other things. It is always there. It's always there. But we have to cope with it. You can't help it. Before I end, is it the last question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. That would be the
Yeah.
last
Before
question.
I end, I must take this opportunity to convey my heartiest thanks to my friend of university days, Professor Indrani Raha. She has been discussing on this for since long, but as I said, that the right time had to come when you will actually reach out to many people for actually the sorry you you actually could reach out to many students and to do it. I'm grateful that I am being invited, and I am able to do it. My regards and thanks and gratitude to Principal Ma'am. Again, Ma'am also is known to me in various other capacities, and you should get Ma'am's interview one day. As I have no bias in gender, but how to manage distance. You are calling now, you are doing it work from home, and what ma'am did in the prime time, managing home and ma'am's workplace was 100 more than 100 kilometers away, and diligently she had to deliver. And work from home, ma'am will understand what work from home means. She would have loved to do work from home when she should have done it. Now it doesn't make much of a difference to her when he's actually working from home. So how a person, again, I have no gender bias, but still we know which society we are in, what kind of a situation we are in, and how to manage both place of work and the family. And when your workplace is much at a distant place, when we talk about work from home, I think the reverse role reversal. You take one interview of a ma'am. I think the budding professionals will learn the fight, the zeal, and balancing factor. This is very important, not only for any gender, for all of us to balance between the family and our workplace, having committed to the both, and at the right time when you should show commitment both to your or office and your home together. So I'm thankful to them also, and thank you very much. Please don't think that you are new, that's why you know less. I always say to you, to my colleagues and my students, that you are maybe a newcomer for 2 years or so. I have been in the profession for more than 35 years, but it is every ball I have to play. I miss a flight and then I'm out. You have not missed a flight, you have scored. So every ball has to be played. This is media. It has been great opportunity. I find lot of students being present throughout the session and very interactive, asking questions that shows of your seriousness, shows of your concern. I should not say anxiety. Don't worry, something or the other should happen. You still have to go for your higher education. That higher education will be there. And I'm again extremely sorry for the FOPA I did as a professional. I should have not done. I'm just being personal since both the ma'ams are there. I can share, but still I did not say anything and I joined. But I should have been more professional and should have been ready with all those stuff. I'm sorry. Please do not do it. Be ready at least 10 minutes before. This is, but do what I say. Don't do what I do. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shu. And for this thing, you are more humane to us. Indrani.
So, on behalf of the department, Principal Madam herself has given the vote of thanks. And I should just like to add one word that it's not only that Snehashish is my friend, that when we discuss, he has agreed, but it was due to the subject and his professional qualification, his professional experience. He was so involved in the matter that he agreed to speak and taking a lot of time from his busy schedule. He has come here and he has spoken for us. And thank you, Snehashish, once more. Again, I believe that we will be getting you someday, maybe in the new normal, maybe again in the normal, and our students will be benefited from that. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone to be present in this webinar. And finally, I also thank our principal, Dr. Bishash, and as Snehashi suggested, we are going to take an interview and we are going to ask Snehashi to put it in the Doordarshan. Thank you all.